welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got some really fascinating research and reports to look at.
Okay.
Basically, we're going to explore how the United Nations Environment Program Finance Initiative, or UNEP-FI, is kind of reshaping how the entire insurance industry thinks about risk and opportunity.
Okay.
Especially, with all the news about climate change and ESG, environmental, social, and governance factors. It's not just about policies anymore. It's like insurers are becoming stewards of the future.
Yeah.
And we're going to see exactly how in this deep dive.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, I think. UNEP-FI is definitely pushing the industry in some new directions.
So to get started, can you kind of give our listeners some background on what exactly UNEP-FI is?
Sure.
And what makes it so important right now?
Okay. So UNEP-FI is an initiative of the United Nations Environment Program.
Okay.
And it's this partnership between the UN and over 300 financial institutions around the world, including a lot of the big insurance companies. What makes it so relevant today is that it's helping the financial sector, and specifically insurers, understand and address the growing financial risks associated with climate change, extreme weather, biodiversity loss.
Yeah, it's interesting because for a long time, those were seen as purely environmental issues.
Yeah.
But UNEP-FI is highlighting how they're also major economic and financial concerns, right?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the key things that UNEP-FI has done is develop the principles for sustainable insurance.
Okay.
These principles provide a framework for insurers to integrate ESG factors into their core business decisions.
Interesting.
From underwriting and risk assessment to investment, product development.
Wow. The principles for sustainable insurance, that sounds like a pretty big deal.
It is.
What do those principles actually involve? And how are they changing the way insurers operate?
The principles call for insurers to really understand and assess their exposure to ESG risks. For example, an insurer underwriting a property in a coastal area would need to consider not just traditional risks like fire or theft, but also the increasing risk of flooding due to rising sea levels.
Oh, wow.
This might mean adjusting premiums, requiring certain risk mitigation measures, or even deciding not to insure certain properties in high-risk areas.
So it's forcing them to bake climate risk.
Yes.
And really all ESG factors into their core business models.
Yeah.
Which probably wasn't that common before.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding losses.
Right.
UNEP-FI is also showing insurers how addressing these challenges can create huge new opportunities.
So they're not just paying out claims after something bad happens.
Right.
They're being proactive and finding ways to actually prevent those bad things from happening in the first place.
Yes. And that's where some really exciting innovations are happening. For example, UNEP-FI has been promoting microinsurance products, which are specifically designed for low-income communities and smallholder farmers, those most vulnerable to climate impacts.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's like providing a safety net for those who need it most?
Yes.
But is microinsurance actually effective? Or does it face challenges in reaching those who need it most?
It's definitely not a silver bullet, but it has proven effective in many cases.
Okay.
Take the example of index-based agricultural insurance. This type of microinsurance uses satellite data to monitor weather conditions and automatically triggers payouts to farmers if certain thresholds, like rainfall levels, are met.
Okay.
This eliminates the need for lengthy claims processes and gets money to farmers quickly when they need it most.
That's really interesting. Using technology like satellite data to streamline the whole process, are there any other innovative approaches that stand out to you?
Another fascinating area is parametric insurance. So instead of relying on traditional claims assessments, which can be time-consuming and costly, parametric insurance policies pay out based on predefined triggers, such as wind speed or rainfall levels.
So it's like if the wind speed hits a certain level, boom, the payout's automatic.
Exactly. This makes it much faster and more efficient to get funds to those affected by extreme weather events, which is crucial when people are struggling to recover.
Of course.
UNEP-FI is encouraging the development of parametric products that are specifically designed to address climate-related risks.
So they're tailoring these products to the specific challenges of a changing climate.
Yes.
I can definitely see how that would be a game changer, especially for communities facing more frequent and severe disasters.
Yes.
It's interesting to see how UNEP-FI is pushing insurers to think beyond just individual policies and consider the bigger picture.
Absolutely. They're advocating for risk transfer mechanisms that incentivize investment in climate-smart infrastructure.
Okay.
For example, if an insurer offers lower premiums for buildings designed to withstand floods or wildfires, it suddenly becomes financially smarter to build for resilience.
That's a really smart approach.
Yeah.
Using financial incentives to drive the adoption of more sustainable practices.
Yeah.
So they're not just insuring existing risks, they're literally shaping the way we build our future.
Exactly.
And this leads to another important point. It's not just about the policies insurers are writing.
Right.
It's also about where they invest their massive pools of capital. UNEP-FI is urging insurers to align their investment portfolios with global climate goals.
Yes.
So instead of investing in things that contribute to the problem like fossil fuels,
Right.
they're shifting towards more sustainable investments.
Precisely. They're looking at things like green bonds, which are specifically used to finance projects with environmental benefits,
Okay.
and impact investing, which targets investments that generate positive social and environmental impact alongside financial returns.
And given that insurers are some of the biggest institutional investors globally, that's a massive potential shift in capital, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When insurers start moving significant amounts of money into sustainable solutions, it sends a powerful signal to the rest of the market and can really drive change across the entire economy.
It's like a ripple effect, where those investment decisions create these larger waves of change.
Yes,
That's pretty powerful stuff.
it is.
And it reminds me of another important aspect of UNEP-FI's work, which is the focus on transparency and accountability.
Yeah, you're right.
As insurers are becoming more involved in addressing ESG issues, there's increasing demand for them to be more transparent about their practices
Absolutely.
and their impact.
For sure.
So it's not enough to just say you're committed to sustainability. You have to actually demonstrate it, right?
Exactly. And that's where ESG reporting and metrics come in.
Okay.
UNEP-FI is advocating for strong reporting frameworks that provide clear and consistent standards for insurers to measure and disclose their ESG performance.
So everyone is playing by the same rules, and those reports can show whether insurers are actually walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
That's right.
But why is this reporting so crucial? Does it really make a difference?
It does. First, it builds trust with stakeholders, from customers and regulators to the general public. It shows that insurers are serious about their commitments.
It's like holding a mirror up to the industry and saying, here's what you're doing well and here's where you need to improve.
Exactly. Second, it forces insurers to examine their own practices through a sustainability lens. When they have to measure and report their environmental and social impact, it can reveal areas where they need to step up their game.
This is where I think UNEP-FI's collaborative approach really shines. It's not just about insurers working in isolation, right?
Absolutely.
One of UNEP-FI's greatest strengths is bringing together a diverse range of stakeholders, including insurers, banks, investors, policymakers, NGOs, and even academics.
So it's like a giant think tank where everyone is bringing their unique perspective and expertise to the table.
Exactly. This kind of cross-sector collaboration is crucial for understanding emerging risks, developing innovative solutions, and shaping policies that promote resilience and sustainability. That makes sense. By working together and pooling their knowledge and resources, they can achieve a lot more than any one organization could on its own.
Right.
It sounds like UNEP-FI is really pushing the boundaries of what we typically think of as the role of insurance.
Yeah.
But how does all of this translate into real-world impact? We've covered a lot of ground, from microinsurance to green bonds.
Right.
But it's important to understand how these initiatives actually affect people's lives.
Well, one of the most significant impacts of UNEP-FI's work is that it's incentivizing systemic change.
Okay.
When ESG performance starts to affect how risk is priced, suddenly companies have a real financial motivation to adopt more sustainable practices.
So if a company wants lower insurance premiums, they need to show that they're taking steps to manage their environmental and social impact.
Exactly.
Right? I can see how that would create a powerful ripple effect across various industries.
Think about it. If a manufacturer wants to secure affordable insurance for their factory, they might need to demonstrate that they're reducing their emissions, using renewable energy, or sourcing materials responsibly.
Oh, wow.
This can drive changes across their entire supply chain.
It sounds like insurers are in a position to push companies towards more sustainable practices, which could ultimately lead to changes in consumer behavior, too. For example, if sustainable products become more readily available and affordable, consumers are more likely to choose them.
That's right.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the core purpose of insurance, protecting what matters,
Right.
by aligning with the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah.
UNEP-FI is expanding that definition of protection to encompass a broader vision of a sustainable and equitable future.
It is.
That's a powerful point. We've talked a lot about climate change.
Yeah.
But the Sustainable Development Goals address a whole range of issues.
They do.
From poverty and hunger to education and gender equality.
Absolutely.
How does UNEP-FI connect the dots between insurance and these wider societal goals?
Well, think about it this way. Climate change, environmental degradation, and social inequality are all interconnected challenges.
Right.
They exacerbate each other and undermine progress towards a more sustainable future.
Okay.
For instance, extreme weather events disproportionately affect vulnerable communities, pushing people further into poverty and hindering development.
So by addressing climate risk, insurers are also contributing to broader societal goals.
Yes.
Like poverty reduction and disaster resilience.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're recognizing that their role isn't just about protecting financial assets, but also about safeguarding people's lives and livelihoods.
Precisely. UNEP-FI is helping insurers understand that they have a responsibility to consider the wider social and environmental impacts of their decisions.
Yeah.
They're encouraging them to become stewards of the future, not just financial protectors.
But is that a realistic expectation? Can we really expect the insurance industry to be at the forefront of solving these massive global challenges?
It's a valid question. But what's exciting about UNEP-FI is that it's showing that sustainability is not just a moral imperative, it's also a business necessity. In a world increasingly shaped by climate change and social upheaval, insurers can't afford to ignore these issues.
Right.
Their own long-term viability depends on addressing them.
It's like they're coming to terms with the fact that they're not just insuring buildings and cars.
Right.
They're insuring the future itself.
Yeah.
And that brings up another question that I think is on our listeners' mind. What about individual action? We've focused a lot on the role of the insurance industry, but what can we as individuals do to align ourselves with this vision of a more sustainable future?
That's a great question, and it's one that I think everyone should be asking themselves.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of these challenges.
Right.
But individual actions do matter. They add up to collective impact.
So where do we even begin? What are some concrete steps that people can take?
I think awareness is the first step. The more we understand the interconnectedness of these issues, climate change, social justice, economic development, the better equipped we are to make informed choices in our daily lives.
So knowledge is power.
Yes.
But it's not enough to just be aware, right? We need to translate that awareness into action.
Exactly. And those actions can take many forms. They can be big or small,
Right.
public or private.
Okay.
It could be choosing to support companies that prioritize sustainability, advocating for policy changes, reducing our own environmental footprint,
Right.
or simply talking to our friends and family about these issues.
So it's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in creating the future we want to see.
Yes.
And that future isn't predetermined.
Right.
It's something we create
Yeah.
collectively through our choices and actions.
Well said. And I think one of the key takeaways from our deep dive into UNEP-FI is that even something as seemingly complex and technical as insurance can be a powerful force for positive change.
That's a really inspiring thought.
It is.
It's easy to feel powerless in the face of these massive global challenges.
Yeah.
But hearing about the work that UNEP-FI is doing and the growing momentum around sustainability in the financial sector, it actually gives me a sense of hope.
I share that hope.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember that change is a process.
Okay.
It doesn't happen overnight. There will be setbacks and challenges along the way.
Right.
But the more we engage in these conversations, the more we challenge ourselves and each other to think differently,
Right.
the closer we get to that vision of a more sustainable and just future.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving perfection.
Right.
It's about constantly striving to do better, to learn more, and to collaborate with others to create a world that works for everyone. It's been really eye-opening to learn about how UNEP-FI is pushing the insurance industry to think differently.
Yeah.
But I'm curious,
Sure.
what are some of the challenges or pushbacks they've encountered along the way?
Well, one challenge is simply the sheer complexity of the issues at hand. Climate change, social inequality,
Right.
sustainable development.
Yeah.
They're all multifaceted problems
Right.
with interconnected causes and effects.
Right.
It takes time and effort to fully grasp these complexities
Sure.
and integrate them into traditional risk assessment and investment models.
It's a huge shift in mindset for an industry that's traditionally been very focused on historical data and actuarial tables.
Yeah.
Suddenly they're being asked to grapple with future projections and scenarios that are inherently uncertain.
Exactly. And there's also the challenge of data availability and quality
Okay.
to accurately assess ESG risks and opportunities.
Right.
Insurers need access to reliable and consistent data on things like emissions, resource use, and social impact. But this data isn't always readily available or standardized, which can make it difficult to make informed decisions.
So it's not just about crunching numbers.
Yeah.
It's about navigating a whole new landscape of data and metrics.
It is.
It sounds like UNEP-FI is playing a crucial role in helping to build that infrastructure and provide guidance to insurers on how to gather and interpret this data effectively.
They are. And they're also working to address another challenge, which is the potential for greenwashing.
Right. Okay.
As more and more companies jump on the sustainability bandwagon,
Yeah.
there's a risk that some might exaggerate or misrepresent their ESG credentials to attract investors or improve their public image.
It's like that old saying, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
So how does UNEP-FI help to ensure that insurers aren't falling prey to these misleading claims or engaging in greenwashing themselves?
One way is by promoting transparency and accountability.
Okay.
As we discussed earlier, UNEP-FI is a strong advocate for robust ESG reporting frameworks.
Right.
These frameworks help to standardize the way insurers measure and disclose their ESG performance, making it easier for stakeholders to compare companies and identify potential greenwashing.
So it's about setting clear expectations and providing tools for verification.
Yeah.
It sounds like UNEP-FI is trying to create a level playing field where genuine sustainability efforts are recognized and rewarded, while misleading claims are exposed.
Exactly. And it's not just about holding companies accountable.
Right.
It's also about fostering a culture of continuous improvement.
Okay.
UNEP-F recognizes that sustainability is a journey, not a destination. It's an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and striving to do better.
I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah.
It's not about expecting perfection from the outset,
No.
but rather about encouraging a mindset of progress and evolution.
Right.
And I think that's something that applies not just to the insurance industry, but to all of us as individuals as well.
I agree. We all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable future.
Yeah.
And that starts with being open to new ideas,
All right.
challenging our own assumptions,
Right.
and being willing to learn and grow along the way.
I love that sentiment. It's not about having all the answers right now,
Oh.
but about embracing the process of discovery and collaboration. And I think that's what makes the deep dive so engaging. It's
Right.
about exploring these complex issues together,
Yeah.
sharing perspectives, and hopefully inspiring our listeners to continue the conversation beyond this episode.
Well said. It's been a pleasure diving deep into this topic with you.
Likewise. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has provided you with a new understanding of how the insurance industry is evolving to address the challenges and opportunities of a rapidly changing world. Remember, sustainability is not just a buzzword. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about our relationship with the planet and with each other.
Absolutely. And as we've seen, even something as seemingly traditional as insurance can be a powerful force for positive change.
So as we resurface from this deep dive, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the issues that matter most to you. Until next time.